Alright, today we're asking a simple question. Just how predatory is the Gemstore? Disclaimer, I'm extremely biased, but so are you. I love this game and I've been playing the franchise ever since Prophecies, but sometimes it's worth taking a look at the weaker points. Before we can even get to the actual offerings on the store, we need to take a look at the currency first. If you want to purchase anything on the Gemstore, you'll need gems. You can buy these with real money or with in-game gold. The reason why you need gems can most likely be found in why casinos won't let you play with cash either. It's much easier to dissociate and reduce the subjective value of cash if you're using imaginary tokens. Otherwise, you'd be confronted with how much you're exactly spending. The fact that ArenaNet lets you buy gems with gold has to be commended. Although I don't want to give them too much credit for this either, as you have to wonder how many players can actually make use of this option consistently. Now that we know why we're spending gems instead of cash, let's take a look at the amounts we can buy. The first option costs 5 non-freedom dollars and awards 400 gems. This is enough to buy some of the cheaper, usually older skins, a novelty or maybe some consumables. And unless you want that one glider or skin, you'll have some left over. Quite often, items are priced just out of range though, forcing you to either double up or convert some gold to gems on top of spending cash. And if you choose to double up for that 500 gem purchase, you'll be stuck with 300. If you're someone who has no qualms about having some gems in reserve, you have a leg up on the system. But I'm willing to bet enough people will see those 300 gems and think about what else they could be buying instead. And this problem perpetuates itself the more we spend. We'll always have something left over. Although once again, I must give ArenaNet some credit. Some of the premium mount skins cost either 1600 or 2000 gems. 20 euros buys you the first, and you can combine 2 gem purchases for the latter. You might wonder why they don't let us spend 25 on 2000 gems directly, which is a nice round number. Well, people are lazy, and that 2800 gem purchase could buy us a premium mount skin and something else. If you just recognize yourself in this scenario, you almost spent double than what you were originally intending to. And let's talk about those leftover gems. You could choose to convert them to in-game gold, albeit at a different rate than converting gold to gems. Or you could choose to spend them on any of the lower priced items. Quite often, these have something in common. All of them are single use and are either a service or what is essentially a loot box. It stands to reason how much a skin is truly worth, and its perceived value will be different for everyone. But those at the very least are permanent additions to our account. A one-time use item is just that. Probably one of the most predatory tactics in the game is related to this, as they could be seen as preying on the lack of knowledge of players. One such example are the experience, item and heroic boosters. 150 gems buys you half an hour of extra experience, magic finds and extra gathering strikes. These are stacked up to the brim on all of my characters, but I didn't buy a single one on the Gemstore. You can get all of these with a seasonal item that makes its appearance every Halloween and costs next to nothing. The same could be said about transmutation charges. Changing the appearance of your items a couple of times costs you a weird amount of gems to say the very least. But ask any World v World player about them and they'll tell you that they don't know what to do with their excess anymore. As a new player, you might not know this however. And the same could be said about Black Lion keys. I can buy them due to my country of residence being a stickler for procedures. And until the last update, ArenaNet kept her lips tight on drop rates. But I do open Black Lion chests rather often. I just do map completions for a chance at a key. Well, I don't do them for those specifically, as I need the rewards to craft legendary gear, but it sure as hell is a lot easier on my wallet. Next up is something called creating the problem and selling the solution, better known as quality of life. And I am a sucker for these. I would argue that things such as the salvage-o-matics and the infinite gathering tools have increased my enjoyment out of the game so much that I would buy them all over again. One gathering skin being better than the other is somewhat disappointing, but that's a whole other debate to have. Instead, I want to look at something else. If you ever wonder what profession to play, chances are people will tell you that Guild Wars 2 is extremely alt-friendly. Which is true, but ties into the above point immediately. If you want to unlock maximum bag space, you'll be spending gems. If you want the convenience of swapping builds on the fly, you'll be spending gems. And if you don't want to store multiple gear sets in an already limited inventory, well, you'll be spending gems. One could argue that 6 bag slots is more than enough for most players, especially if you make 32 slot bags. And you could make alts for each elite spec, which is cheaper than buying all of the aforementioned upgrades. But it is less convenient, especially considering that your story progress, your map unlocks, and gear if you don't own legendary or ascended pieces are all character bound. Once again, the game is incredibly alt-friendly, and no one forces you to buy these upgrades, but making them account-bound would feel much less predatory than the current solution. There are some more subtle tactics at play as well, with the most important one being time scarcity. Almost all items are on rotation in the store. At this point, I would argue it's even a necessity, because having every single item available at the same time would be so overwhelming we'd probably stop spending our gems. But it is a proven psychological fact that most people are prone to this, because you don't want to lose out on that sale of backslot expansions you've been waiting for. Although you promised yourself you wouldn't spend any more gems until next month, right? It'd be easy to end the video here, cast blame on the game, and call ourselves victims of a time in gaming where microtransactions run rampant. But let's flip the script and think about why ArenaNet chose the system. First of all, they need to keep a company afloat, they need to pay people salaries, and meet players' ever-growing demands. If we get 3 episodes of story content, we wish we had 5. If we get 5, we wish we had 8. We want new raids, new strikes, new zones, frequent balance patches to keep PvP alive, and more. All of this costs money, there is no way around it. We never had to pay a single monthly fee to access the game, so they have to make that money elsewhere, and optional purchases will probably be the best thing. Speaking about which, you can now join my OnlyFans and you won't get kicked out of the house, because there is only gamer content here.